Every single day, our feeds are just flooded with images and videos of conflict and injustice from all over the world, right? But have you ever stopped to wonder how a viral tweet or some shaky cell phone footage actually becomes hard evidence? You know, the kind of evidence that can convict a war criminal? Well, today, we're pulling back the curtain on the rulebook that makes it all possible, the Berkeley Protocol.
That's a fantastic question, isn't it? And the answer is, well, it's way more complicated than a simple yes or no. Look, a powerful video can absolutely go viral, it can change public opinion, but in a court of law, it's just raw data. The real challenge, the whole challenge, is turning that raw digital noise into actual solid evidence, proof that's been verified, authenticated, and can stand up to some seriously intense legal challenges.
And that right there, that's the core of the problem we're facing. The amount of content is just staggering. It's like trying to find a needle in a digital haystack the size of a planet. So investigators, they need a super rigorous, systematic way to find that one crucial piece of information, prove it's not a fake, and then package it so it can be used for real, tangible justice.
So, here's our game plan for this explainer. We're going to start with how online clicks can actually end up in the courtroom. Then, we'll get into the digital detective's rulebook itself, its guiding principles, and the digital minefield these folks have to navigate. We'll even see an investigation in action. And finally, we'll wrap up with why this protocol really, truly matters.
Okay, so how in the world do you bring some order to all of this digital chaos? Well, you create a global standard. So let's dive right into the Berkeley Protocol.
So what is this thing exactly? Well, the Berkeley Protocol is basically the world's first comprehensive playbook for conducting open-source investigations. And open source just means using publicly available stuff, social media, satellite images, online videos, you name it, for legal cases. The fact that it's co-published by the United Nations and UC Berkeley's Human Rights Center, that gives it some serious international credibility. This is the real deal.
But the protocol's mission is so much bigger than just finding a video. It's about standardizing the entire process. And why is that so critical? Well, because it means that different organizations, from the International Criminal Court all the way down to small, local nonprofits, can finally speak the same language and, more importantly, trust each other's work. It's about creating a repeatable, verifiable system for everything.
Now, to make that huge mission a reality, the protocol is built on a really strong foundation. Let's take a look at the 3 pillars that guide pretty much every single move an investigator makes.
Every single thing an investigator does falls into one of these 3 buckets: professional, methodological, and ethical. This structure makes sure that their work isn't just effective, but that it's also responsible and totally defensible from every possible angle you can think of. So what does that look like in the real world? Well, professionally, it means you have to be at the top of your game and constantly aware of security risks. Methodologically, it's about being incredibly accurate and only collecting what is absolutely necessary. No digital hoarding that might violate someone's privacy. And ethically, it's about approaching the work with humility, staying independent from outside pressures, and being totally transparent about your methods.
And let's be clear, this work is not just about sharp analysis. It comes with some very real dangers, both for the investigation itself and for the investigators.
You have to understand, these investigators are prime targets. They're constantly getting hit with phishing attacks, trying to steal their passwords, social engineering to trick them into giving up info, and malware that's designed to completely take over their computers. It is a never-ending battle to stay one step ahead.
And then there's the human cost. These investigators often spend their days looking at the absolute worst of humanity. This constant exposure to graphic, violent content can lead to serious psychological distress and secondary trauma. It's a risk the protocol takes very seriously, and it recommends support and wellness strategies for a reason.
So given these massive digital and psychological risks, protection is everything. It's absolutely paramount. So what does that actually look like?
Their toolkit is this really interesting mix of technology and pure discipline. They use things like VPNs to hide their location. They use virtual machines, which you can think of as a disposable, anonymous computer that runs inside their own computer, to do sensitive searches without leaving a trace. But you know what the most crucial tool is? It's behavioral. It's keeping their professional and personal digital lives completely, totally separate to protect themselves and their work.
All right, so we've got the rules, we've got the risks. How does an investigator actually take a random piece of information from the internet and turn it into something that can stand up in court? Let's walk through the process. First things first, we have to understand this absolutely critical distinction. Information is, well, it's anything you find online. A tweet, a photo, a video clip. Evidence, on the other hand, is information that has been rigorously verified, authenticated, and proven to be relevant and reliable enough to help establish facts in a court of law.
The protocol is the bridge that turns one into the other.
And the analysis gets even more detailed from there. Investigators look at both credibility and reliability. Credibility is all about the source. Is the person who posted this trustworthy? Is the witness believable? But reliability is about the content. Does the video actually show what it claims to show? Is the testimony believable? You could have a super credible source, like a famous activist, but if their video is edited in a misleading way, the content itself isn't reliable. You absolutely need both.
And they're hunting for two very different types of proof. First is what's called crime-based evidence. This proves a crime actually happened. The who, what, where, when. Think of a geolocated video of a hospital being bombed. But then there's the second type, and this is often the hardest part, linkage evidence. This is the smoking gun that connects a specific person or group to that crime. Like, say, a soldier's social media post bragging about the attack from that exact same location.
Okay, so let's pull back and look at the big picture here. In a world that is just completely saturated with digital information, why does having a detailed, standardized rulebook like this really matter for the future of justice?
Well, for starters, you have to realize this wasn't created in a vacuum. It represents a massive global consensus. It was built from the input of more than 150 experts from all around the world. We're talking international prosecutors, defense lawyers, digital forensic specialists, academics, the whole shebang. This is the shared wisdom of an entire field.
And this right here is really the ultimate takeaway. The Berkeley Protocol provides the methods and the ethical guardrails to turn open-source investigation from what was a specialized, sometimes inconsistent art form into a rigorous, repeatable science. It makes sure that as technology evolves, our ability to hold people accountable evolves right along with it. And that leaves us with a huge question for the future. In an age of generative AI and deepfakes that make it easier than ever to create incredibly convincing fakes, how will standards like the Berkeley Protocol need to evolve? And how will they meet that next great challenge in the global quest for digital truth?